Okay, let's go ahead and start adding the schema markup to our website. Now where we want to place this code is exactly where our text is displayed on our website. So sometimes this is going to be within your theme or your template files, or it will be on the specific landing page that you're working with. It really just depends on what text you're trying to mark up, but we'll take a closer look at that. Now, you never want to use schema on any hidden text, or you really just don't want to use hidden text in general anyway, but you also want to avoid using it in meta tags. So you want to use this where you are actually displaying text on your website, and it's going to be helpful for visitors. So this is something you would want to add on each page anywhere that you really can to give yourself a little boost. Now there is a website called schema.org, and this is where you will find all of the schema related terms, and it gives you all of the information that you need to include on your website. But there's 3 common terms that you're really going to come across, and so let's talk about those to get started. The first is item scope, and this is what you would place within your div tag. And this tells Google that everything within that div tag is related to one topic. But that is not really helpful unless you're able to describe what that topic is. And that is where the item type comes in. The item type actually describes the type of content so that Google can better understand it. And we display the item type with a URL that we actually grab from schema.org. So we can click on schemas here, and you'll see that there are several different schemas already. So if you're working to display an event or a particular person, a local business, a product, a review, you can click on the appropriate category and go in there for further information. So I'm going to click on local business. Now this gives you really just almost an overwhelming amount of possible code that you can use to mark up your website. You're not going to need all of these. Really, you just want to grab what you need because every site is going to be different. Some websites, for instance, are going to display a fax number. Others are not. Just because it's listed here doesn't mean you have to use it. Also scrolling down, you'll see that there are a list of local businesses. So if your local business falls within one of these categories, you can actually click on that particular category and use the markup specific for that one. If not, you can take a step back and just use the schema local business code. Now finally, we have item prop, which is item property, and this is used to describe all the properties within that related item type. So let's take a look at an example of that. So this is an example of the schema markup for the Live Long and Prosper business. I start out in my div tag letting Google know that this is a local business. So again, I'm displaying this as a URL here, and I grab that URL from schema. As you'll see here, the category is schema.org/local business. If I had a childcare business, I could click on that. You'll see the URL changes to schema.org/childcare. I then could grab that URL and throw that into my markup. Now I'm going to begin using properties. I've told Google that everything within this div tag is about a local business. Now I'm going to use the item property of name and description to describe the business. In the next div tag, I'm actually going to list the address, which we know is important for local businesses. Now, if you have a home-based business or you are working with a business that serves customers at their location, not at the business owner's location, you can remove the street address. You can just keep the address, locality, and the region. Otherwise, you can display the full address here. So this is how you'd mark it up. You'd have the item property, scope, and type, and then you'd break down the properties. Now, you don't want one long address. You do need these individual item properties for each address. Then I would display my phone number using the item property telephone tag as well. So of course you can do this manually. You can go in and grab the information that you need. But another thing you can do is use a generator to create this code for you, which makes it quick and easy. So for example, this one gives me the business name, address, and phone number. I can go in and fill out that information and all I need to do is click on submit, and it's going to automatically generate that code for me. So as you can see here, all the information listed looks just like the code that I just showed you. So all I need to do here is copy this code and then paste it into my particular web page. So if I wanted to display my business name, address, and phone number just like you see here, I could go back to my website, I could log into this particular page, and I could paste the code here instead of using this particular text. But I can also mark up this text as well. Google gives us this really neat tool called the Structured Data Markup Helper, and this can actually show you where exactly on a page you should be displaying the code, and it will tell you what code to use. So I want to go back here again to local businesses. Obviously, if you're trying to mark up an event or product, you can select the right option there. But I'll select local businesses, and then I can put in the URL that I want to mark up. So I'm going to put in my demo URL here. Now keep in mind, this does not have to be your home page. This is the actual landing page that you're working on. And when I click on Start Tagging, what's going to happen is it's going to pop up an image of the web page on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side here, it's going to give me all these data items related to a local business. Now what I can do is I can highlight any of these data points over here on the web page. So for example, I have a phone number. I can highlight that, and when I highlight it, it's automatically going to pop up this drop-down box, and I can select this information. So I'll select telephone. Now you'll see it adds it over here on the right-hand side. I can also select business hours, and I can select that this is an opening time. I can select the days of the week, and I can select a closing time. Now I can also select my area here. I'll select that this is the city. Now if you have any of this other information here, this is where you can go ahead and highlight that as well. Now I can click on Create HTML. And you'll see here that anything that is highlighted in yellow is where they've added this markup. So it shows you here on the right hand side where yellow is added, so you can quickly just jump down to that particular point. But it shows me here that it's added the div tag, it's added the item scope and type as a local business. It's added in the postal address and also my phone number. It's also added in my opening hours. It shows me that there's an error here with my time, and it shows me what I need to do to add in a correct time so that it can better understand the actual closing time. I can also go back to schema.org and I can look for the actual opening time. Just do a quick search here. So we have opening hours. So here it shows you the exact code that you need to use to display your opening hours. So that's where you're able to use schema.org as well. Once you're done adding the code to your website, you always want to test to make sure that it has been added correctly to your website. That way you know Google is going to receive the right information. So that's where you want to go back to the structured data testing tool. And again, here you want to fetch the URL, or you can copy the code from Google that you've added. You could paste that in here as well. But throw in the URL, click on fetch and validate, and then on the right hand side, it's going to let you know if they see that code on your website and if it has been done correctly. This is a good thing to do again before you launch a redesign if that's what you're doing. That way you can catch any errors before launch and correct them so you launch with everything done correctly.